This conference will now be recorded.
All right, everybody. I'm just going to go live, so hopefully they have their act together on that. So this is painfully difficult for me to do, although I have, I don't know, over 100+ YouTube videos that I've done. Trying to do this by yourself is no fun. But this is kind of the reason why I do stuff, is to challenge myself and do things that take me out of my comfort zone, things that are a challenge. And that's what I get out of doing things today. That's what gets me going. So one of the trolling questions that you always get is well, if you were such a successful bettor, well, why do you need to sell picks? And I'm going to answer that question later, but I just love that question. Anyway, anybody that's just showing up, anybody that's here, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. What I want to do is I want everybody to get value from this. First of all, I need to, I'm told, give a little bit of background on where I came from. And believe it or not, I'm positive that my subscribers don't even, I've had subscribers for years that probably don't even really know my background. So this might be interesting for them also, but the purpose is not to sell, okay? The purpose is to educate. I want to teach you about me. I want to explain my history. I want to explain what I've been through. I want to explain my philosophy. Yeah, I'm going to point out what is available if somebody wants to follow. But more importantly, for anybody that's not interested in buying anything or following, or that's fine. You're going to get value out of this video, because I'm going to discuss stuff that even if you're following somebody else or thinking of following somebody else, I encourage people. I absolutely encourage people to compare, because that's what other people say to do, is compare. Absolutely compare. I encourage it. So, and if you're not planning on following something or somebody, we're going to discuss a lot of different things that are on my mind that make my NFL successful, and that can make all of your betting successful. That we're going to touch base on a lot of different things. I've gotten mouth. Sorry, guys. First of all, so stick around, whatever. I'll try to put it in some sort of an order, but we will get to useful stuff that everybody needs to hear. I promise you. And I don't want to make this too long. So my background is, I'm originally from Detroit. So I'm a loyal Detroit fan. I moved out in Las Vegas around 2006, I believe. I actually was going to play poker. I actually lived in the old farts community out in Sun City, and that was an adventure. And I learned a lot of stuff, ran into some very interesting people out here when I first came out here. I'm not going to go into that right now, but maybe another time. But I slowly, my whole life I had been a sports bettor, really not very good, but I ran into some of the right people. And I have to be honest with you, I had a partner named Frank that I ended up being partners with for well over 10 years. And when I ran into him, he was doing something with sports betting that, even though I had been betting my whole life, it broke my brain. I mean, I couldn't grasp it. It was like, wait a minute, I've been betting for 30 years. Why don't I understand this? And it was really strange, because it took a while, I mean, months, for me to kind of get these concepts to kind of stick, because it just felt like a complete brain reprogramming. So that's a little background there. Touching base, just to say it up front, I don't know it all, okay? I'm not one of these guys that's gonna, by the end of the show, give you a lecture, say I know it all. I have nothing to learn. I have nothing to learn from you. That's the complete and utter opposite. I have everything to learn from everybody. I'm completely open-minded. I'm perfectly well aware that I'm imperfect and I make mistakes, and I'll continue to make mistakes. And everybody makes mistakes. And other people can lecture all they want and call people names and make people try to feel stupid. They can claim that they've evolved and they've learned and now they know it all. Good luck. This is a constant evolution. So when I started with this, with my partner Frank, it was a constant learning process. I had to, I'm buying back points, I'm middling, I'm learning the value of half points. All this betting that I didn't even know existed required learning how to read markets and taking positions. And it was just, a lot of it flew over my head. There was a lot of trial and error. There were a lot of mistakes made. Primarily, I did not get involved as a handicapper. I primarily, I think, benefited in a way that people nowadays, unfortunately, I'm never going to be fortunate enough to do. I had to learn market reading, with my nuts on the table. I had to put them on the line. I had to invest my money. If I was taking positions on middles, I had to be right because when you're chasing middles, you're chasing 10 to 1, 20 to 1, 30 to 1. If you bet, we were betting, I was betting both sides of games sometimes, or the same side twice. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how many mistakes I was making along the way. And I went to the school of hard knocks where you either learn it and you really learn it, or you're going to go broke. So I went to the school of hard knocks. I did a lot of middling, a lot of scalping, went through a ton of accounts. We would start the years with, 40, 50, 60 accounts. And that's before bots. I mean, we're manually using all that stuff. So it was very labor intensive. It was 7 days a week. There were no breaks. I was running around to all the different casinos and chasing down the lines. And that was before real technology that we have today. So, I mean, it wasn't as easy, but it was a lot of work. And it was interesting enough where I was fortunate enough to have David Purdom do an article for ESPN on me, ESPN Chalk, and he drove around with me for a day. And that was actually pretty cool for me to experience, that kind of a little bit of attention. We had contest success. We've had a lot of contest success. We started entering contests around that time. I'm going to get back to that though. But so that was our evolution, is going to the school of hard knocks and learning how to read a market. And I know I was a little long-winded on this, but I cannot begin to tell you how important market reading is. And that is part of the NFL process. There is nothing more important. Betting, for me, knowing what I'm going to bet is the easiest part. Knowing how I'm going to bet it, that's where the work is involved. And that could be a 6-7 day process. If you're not familiar with all this type of stuff, it's gonna make completely no sense to you. But people that have followed me in the past understand, because I communicate. If somebody is following me, I don't want your first and only contact to be submitting your credit card number, as almost nearly all people have that type of contact with people that they follow with. What's really important to me, and this is why it's a passion for me, is to involve other people. That's how I get satisfaction. I really, really enjoy trying to help people out. Again, I remind people, I don't know it all, but what I do know, I really like to share, and that's important to me. Eventually, the middling and the scalping, that kind of, tailed off a little bit. It was harder to get accounts. The easy 5-cent shops dried up. Got booted from, I don't know how many hundreds of shops, and it just became too hard. And I had to develop, we had to do something on the handicapping side, because you can't take positions only on market reading. You need some sort of a lead by handicapping. So I was fortunate enough, and this is really important that people need to know, is if you're going to be good, you're going to need mentors. You're going to need people that give you a helping hand and pull you up. And it's at a more personal level. It's not something that you're going to find in a video by people, or Twitter by people lecturing you. It's not something you're going to find in articles. You might find a lot of that information, but there's no substitute for being able to meet people that are willing to help you out. And I was fortunate enough to have people and develop those relationships, which would go into another category of networking, which is also extremely important. And that is also something that we discuss all year long. Everything ties in to each other. Concept after concept after concept, they're all interwoven. So learned college, I learned a college football system that worked pretty well for a while. Somebody helped me along with that. I made my little tweaks and did really well for a while on that. And it was really actually a pretty interesting system because I was able to have huge volume. I was betting 35 games a week. If you actually have something that's good, you want to put a positive EV expectation play into play as often as possible. So you want that high volume. You don't want to be scared of that high volume. Sure, there's some swings and you got to be able to deal with those, but that was a lot of fun back then. NFL, same situation. You know, I ran into people that taught me a little this, taught me a little that. When the rules changed, I had to make a lot of tweaks in my NFL system. And when the same thing happened in NCAA, I had to make a lot of tweaks when the scoring increased. And there is no model that's just going to continue to work. There's nothing. I don't care what you're doing, it's never going to keep on working. And 1 year variance, that's meaningless. 100-game history, that's meaningless. You need to have something that's going to work, 500 or 1,000 times before you can really rely on it. So, and by the time you have that in place, the system's the system may not even be working anymore. So you're trying to confirm that something works, and by the time you're able to feel confident in it, well, they change a rule, or there's just some sort of oddity involved that changes the whole process, and now you got to tweak it again, and it's like a never-ending process of having to reorganize yourself. But you'll never, whatever worked last year, if you're counting on it to work this year, forget it. There's a lot of people out there who did really well in NFL certain years, and I told them ahead of time, I go, you did well this year, you're not going to do well this year. You didn't do well, you're going to do well. And the reason I know that is because my model, I have a much different model of the NFL, and I can't really explain it, but it really reads unique things about the market. My NFL model isn't, focused on a lot of overly important, minutia of detail, so to speak, imperfect data that a lot of people will quote endlessly in video after video. I don't have any of that stuff in there. I get and I also get a wider view of the whole team playing. And I was having a conversation with somebody that I respect in NFL handicapping, and I pointed out, well, are you factoring in this? And he's like, well, no. I'm like, well, that changed my whole model back in 2016. As soon as I tweaked that, everything turned around. And very sharp guys can overlook little details that can really go a long way. And so that's what I've been doing up until now. I learned how to read markets. I had my ups and downs. I learned how to handicap. I learned how to change along the way, move on the fly. Did a lot of contests, had a lot of great contest success, which is an entirely different way of thinking. Touch base on that. Let me see this question. I'm not going to actually discuss how much, figures, because figures in, of how much I bet or how much I'm trying to get down are kind of irrelevant. I get a lot of people that reach out to me and they're kind of embarrassed to admit how much they bet. I don't care if you bet $20. I'm going to show you the same respect and care that I would show anybody else. You know, it might be betting 5,000. It's all relative. I'm sure whatever you're betting, if you're a $20 bettor, is just as important as what 5,000 is to the $5,000 bettor. So a $20 bettor shouldn't be getting involved with my service, and I frequently tell people not to get involved with my service if they don't bet enough. That's one thing a lot of people don't factor in if they're going to follow somebody else. So we've gotten up to, we're pretty current on what I have been doing. I do want to just quickly, let's see if I can get this screen sharing thing going, because I want to just reference my history so people can evaluate if I'm some blowhard or not. Okay, let's see. Contest success, I've been very lucky. A lot of people like to talk about what they did a long time ago, and what I take a lot of pride in is what have you done for me lately? I think my screen is being shared. Somebody tell me, is my screen being shared? Okay, good. As you can see, I've had a regular good success. Cashed a quarterly last year, won last man standing the year before, cashed second and fifth 2 years before that with my only 2 entries. The year before that, I finished 20th and 31st. I finished second place in the NFL last man standing. The only reason I put that up there is because I went out on the last day, last person to go out. And if you know anything, very easy, very profitable to be able to make a lot of money in that position. Because if you're down to one other person or 2 other people, you can make a significant amount of money hedging out of that. You can also make some huge mistakes if you don't hedge properly. That's another issue that we talk about all year long. And that's what's important. We won the Palms first place challenge, and that one way back in 2011, which isn't that long ago. I won it by 5 games. I do have a snapshot of that. I couldn't believe it. We won the only win contest that they ever had. One and one only winner. College football we won. Enough of that stuff. So I feel that I need to say that you have to be really, really lucky. I'm not some sort of contest superhero, and I don't want to profess anything. Anybody that does anything in a contest has to have an inordinate amount of luck. You have to have the breaks. So don't ever think that I'm sitting there going, oh, I'm better than anybody else or this, that, and the other. I count my lucky stars that I've had the success with contests that I've had. And I work real hard at it. It's very important to me. But as I told somebody else recently that finished very high up, I go, the same year I did, we're both huge underdogs to make the top 100 over the next 3 years. Once you finish high up, you get all cocky, you think you got it all covered, you had that groove going, and it doesn't happen 2 years in a row. You have to have luck. You have to have variance on your way in your direction. Let's see here. I got a couple questions. Will a $250 bettor, is it worth it? Is a $250 a unit worth an investment? I want to make back my money, obviously. Let me tell you something that nobody else will tell you. I'm going to actually promise you nothing, okay? I can't guarantee what my results are going to be. I need to repeat that. I promise nothing. The only thing that I can tell you is I can show you what has transpired. And let me get back to the screen sharing. Boy, I'm sorry, I'm such a numbskull with this. I literally wasn't even 10 minutes before this started before they taught me this. No. Here is the last, 2015 through 2022. As you can see, I chart everything. There is one or two errors on this screen that I need to correct, and it's actually going to work against me slightly. It's important that I have this data correct. I've got a lot of, I use the data in a lot of different ways, as I'm going to show you. So it's important that I have everything correct. I don't write this stuff out as marketing tools. I like to know this stuff because it's a part of a betting tool for me. If I can find patterns, you know, week 13 just sucks. Week 18 last year was a disaster. You know, I'm doing better at the beginning of the year. These are certain trends that is just part of an overall equation of how I may or may not be aggressive in a particular week, how I may or may not use contest selections and other variables. But as you can see, if you're familiar with a reality winning percentage, and you're not, and you're new, I mean, you're not new, you would understand that anything above 52 point something is what you need to have to be profitable. All those people that tell you that they're winning at 65%, 70%, they're full of shit, okay? And I mean, I've been very fortunate. I've had very successful, 57.5%, trust me, for this kind of volume, it's what, 800 and something games, 900 games. It raises a lot of skepticism from my peers. They feel it's incredulous. So that's a very hard number to reach. It's an easy number, you know, if you got 100 games, but try it over 800, 900 games. And those are just against the spread sides. They do not include parlays. And there is another stipulation that's in there where it's a little bit more complicated, because last year I started incorporating some parlays into my wagers. So I would split up one side. So let's say I had 4% as a rating, which is not betting 4% of your bankroll, but as a 4% rated pick. Well, if I like Dallas, I might split that up into 3 or 4 bets, 2, 3, 4 bets. On the win-loss that I'm tracking it as 1. So if all 3 or 4 bets won, that's just 1. If all 3 or 4 bets lost, that's going to be just 1. And and for my tracking purposes, I want to track against the spread. So it's not, these are not enhanced by, oh, I improved the record, you know, with a teaser, or I improved the record with a money line parlay. While all that stuff is in play, that's off on the side. That's a different way of how I'm monitoring it. It would be disingenuous for me to be crediting wins as straight against the spread wins if I'm, you know, factoring in money lines and teasers. Let's see what else I have here. I don't want to, just quickly on this, I'm just going to look at this for a moment. And this is an example of how I'm cross-referencing everything and how I track everything and how there's catches. And that's why I know that there's an error on one chart if it doesn't match up on another chart. These are all live, so I can change all the inputs, and I can see what my record is betting on every team, betting against every team, and that's important to me, because there are some teams that I just don't, you know, those Jets can be a little rough on me. Vegas has been really rough on me. This is not updated. Boy, I actually pulled an old chart. I think I had this through 21 someplace else, but this is an old chart. So apologize for that, but I'm just using it as an example. Quickly, closing line value, very important. If you don't beat the closing line, you're not going to win. I chart that. It's extremely important, no matter who you follow. If you're betting yourself, you have to be getting closing line value. It's not a 100% thing that you have to do, but it's very important that you're beating the market. So what do we have? 851 wagers. I'm only, from the time that I bet it and I share it, a better line only becomes available 15% of the time, which I think is an extremely high number. That comes from my market reading ability in the past. It comes from networking. It comes from a lot of different variables that I've learned over time, which I share throughout the year with the people that are following. It's important to try to beat that closing line. And what else is extremely important on this particularly, which I really, really love, and this is probably the one thing this is where I'm going to pat myself on the back, okay? Shameless plug. And why I love my NFL model and why I know it works is now 100 and how many games do we have? I'm not even sure. I forget. We're talking about, I think it's like 124 games here, which I did not get positive or where the line moved against me. Out of those 124 games, my record is actually higher. I'm winning 62% of those games. So again, we'd like to have a larger sample size, but we are seeing, some sort of consistency developing that you kind of like, where it kind of tells you, hey, yeah, your model's a little bit different. And that's another issue that we talk about is what is the difference between a real model and the guys that just sit there and put a value on each team and they watch the games and then their lying eyes tell them that they should adjust this team by half a point higher or this team by 1 point lower. I'm telling you right now, from years of doing this, it blows my mind how different my model will spit out information from what I saw with my eyes and from what, all the inputs that I see, peripherally through my ears told me was going to happen. So I really like my model. It's been a proven success over a lot of games. And when I screw up, then I'm still doing very well. And let me tell you something, I got my butt handed to me. If there was a COVID game, I was on the wrong end of that. I was, twisting in the wind with -7 points line value. It was ridiculous. Those are in here. I'm not excluding those. So it's important that people know that I'm putting it all in there. And sure, I might have benefited from a couple of those, but trust me, boy, did they go against me. Let me catch up on these questions. Bankroll, I want to get to that later. See that these contest questions are just awesome, and they come up all year long. And I do have a YouTube channel with different playlists, which I suggest anybody goes to. It's all free. There's nothing. There's not a single moment wasted. I don't open it trying to sell anything. We don't even, a lot of time don't even introduce ourselves, that sort of thing. It's just content. I recommend the summer series. Those 11 videos are amazing. But I also have 10 videos of contest information. And if you're serious about the contest information, there's a lot of overlap on it, but I've included a lot of different appearances or pods that I've been on. There's something different in most of those that are worth listening to. And I think it's a constant evolution, because I know for a fact that the way that people are attacking contests is changing. And I don't want to necessarily discuss that at this point, but the strategies change from year to year, especially with more people entering. So what I might have told you 2 years ago, I might not necessarily agree with anymore. And specifically, this video isn't meant to go into those specifics, but this is the type of stuff that I like to communicate, have two-way conversation with people along the way. It's not a matter of, thank you for your credit card, I'll send you the pick. I want people involved. Another thing, I learn a lot from clients. I learn a lot from Twitter followers in my DM that never bought anything. There's a lot of people out there that know I've spent a lot of time with them that don't know me from Adam. I go out, I've had people that just treated me like crap. And I go into their DM and I turn the majority of those people around just because they can tell I give a crap, and I do, I really do. So I guess I should have shown this first, but I didn't have this organized. Here is the records over the last, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years in a row we've won. I was 2 games under 500 on the sides, and I think I had crappy totals, or I did something else crappy that made that loss. But and won in 2015. So 7 out of 8 winning years, 6 in a row, pretty consistent. Again, I'm not some super handicapper. I rely on my model. I have to interpret the model, and I have to tweak the model, but I don't know how people do it with just manual power rating changes. It just makes no sense to me, because I know how often I just am flabbergasted at a result on my model when the work comes in early Tuesday morning. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, I was 100% sure I was going to be on this side, and I'm on the opposite side. I would have bet anything. So that's the importance of having some sort of a model. Handicapping the NFL, it's considered the most efficient market outside probably the soccer in the Premier League. Who wants to do that? So I'm happy. Unfortunately, what I had the most success in is the fewest weeks and the fewest games in a season. So, but it also allows me to work harder and concentrate more. It's very nice to be able to spend that much time to take the time to think about how I want to bet something. And I know it's going to sound silly to a lot of people. Well, you got the side. What's there to think about? Oh, brother. Anybody that was with me last year knows last year started off like shit. I got so pissed off. I was down. I was frustrated. The variance was, I remember at one point out of 10 toss-up games, which I call just bad, but whatever, which I consider any team can win going into the last few minutes. 1 in 9 on those games. Just can't get anything to go my way. And quite honestly, even the straight model picks were a little bit weaker for a period of time. And I had to pivot, and I had to learn. I go, I'm not going to take this crap. I can tell my model's telling me that there's something different. And I was able to pivot, and I changed the way that I bet last year, and it became highly successful. I was so focused that I literally didn't even track my record. But when it got to the end of the year, I didn't even realize I was up money. I swear to God, I'm not kidding. I was just week to week to week. When Sunday ended, I was just worrying about the next game, and I had a lot of situations where I was tying in 1 week into the next week. So that's how focused I am on trying to keep this winning streak alive, to be profitable, and to try new things. I'm never going to know everything, never. But I'm going to do my damnedest to pick things up on the fly. And there's a lot of things that people tweet out and say, never do this, never do that. And you know what? They're wrong. Okay? Specifically, parlays, teasers. Blowhards can sit there until they're blue in the face. I don't care. Okay? I promise you. 100%. I promise you. They're full of shit. Okay? They're looking for attention, or they don't know how to bet. But they do know how to bet. They're looking for attention. So trust me, there are absolutely many, many reasons why parlays and teasers are positive EV within the certain situations. Now, I'm not going to qualify that comment though. Should 99.9% of the parlays that are out there be made? And should 99.9% of the people betting them be placing them? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So it's sports books are making between 50 to 65, 70% of their revenue from parlays for nearly everybody. Yes, they are sucker bets, but for people to be disingenuous and malinformed enough to sit there and say, never do them, they're for suckers, oh, you're a loser. Okay. So you believe what you want to believe, okay? I have an extremely, I don't even have the records handy, but I've shared them with a lot of people, and clients know it. In fact, it was 603 parlays, which is by any standard, a sizable enough sample size to respect. It was 603 parlays. I was at plus 93 units with a 12.7 ROI. Now, we had a horrible, and that's overall with all the sports. So, but subsequently, I failed on them in MMA and MLB, and now it's down to plus 73 units and a plus 10.2 ROI with, just bad, it's going to go up, it's going to go down. But trust me, if you can use parlays, and you know what, I can give you, I ran out of paper listing all the reasons why parlays are good. And that's when people sit there and say, oh, you shouldn't be betting parlay. I'm trying to squeeze them in. I'm running out of room on all the reasons why you parlay. So it's just such a dumb comment to make. But if you're going to be really technical about it, but for, again, 99.9% of the people should not be doing it. If you do not understand it, don't do it. But don't tell other people that you never do anything. Never is an absolute term, and you take absolute terms seriously. As far as teasers go, I see a question here. I saw somebody ask something. Oh, I didn't realize there were so many questions here. I saw a Wong teaser thing here. Last year, last year, I used teasers much more often than I had in the past. And here's what I'll say about teasers. I had a 38%, I was plus 38 units in teasers last year. It was the #1 revenue method for me. Without doing further investigation into it, well, maybe I got lucky. And you don't understand. You don't use parlays and teasers and marry them. And by what I mean is, you don't marry them where they don't serve more than one purpose. And I'll put it to you that way. And if you are able to be creative and have multi-purpose to either of those wagers, and you always can take action on the back ends, you're really placing individual bets, and you're pivoting, and you're putting yourself in positions. And when I'm talking about parlays, I'm not looking for big paydays. That's not the goal. If you're one of these parlay guys that are chasing big paydays, yeah, you're pissing your money away. You're playing the lottery. I'm using it as part of my betting arsenal, and people should learn how to use them in their betting arsenal. And I can tell you from experience, I polled people, clients, and I said, is this shit too complicated? Am I going too far? They're like, no, we love it. I'm using this successfully in this sport. I'm using it in this successfully in this sport. I would have never thought this way. This goes back to how you retrain your thinking. When I had to do it when I first came to Vegas and I met Frank, and my brain hurt from needing to be reprogrammed and look at it from a different perspective. that's the best I can tell you right now. You know, there's more time throughout the season to go into more specifics on it. As far as picks I send out, do I give recommendations for the best prices for books? What good would it do me if I cannot release something that is not available? I'm really not out to impress anybody. If people can't get it, I don't have time to hear anger and frustration. I want people happy. I want good karma. So my number one goal is available lines. And that's a point where it sounds odd because clients or followers should have expectations of me, but I have expectations of people following. You know, if you have to have the right books, which I name off, you have to have the right bankroll. You just don't, you cannot be risking too much. You have to be betting within your means. You have to have the right shops. You have to have the right availability. So I try to address it from both ways. I'm not going to sit there and, the other guys are going to take a credit card. That's the last time, you actually contact them and they hear from you. No, this is a situation where, and this is the type of thing, again, I mentioned, I don't care if you follow the service or not. If you're Joe Blow off the street, I do my best to help you, when I have time. But the service comes with a private VIP Discord channel, 24/7 availability. It's going to come with one of these conferences each week, possibly more. But the difference between today and what's going to happen in the season is I'm going to be working here. I may have to, there may be dead air time while, I see something happening and we could be betting right then and there. Hey, get ready. I see something on the screen. I don't like this. All right, get ready, And then you're going to see the whole process that I go through because I've got to find the available, first I got to bet it. Here's number one thing too. If you're following somebody else, ask them when they bet. Ask them when they bet. Don't think they're going to want to answer that question. I'll tell you when I bet, what's important to me is as many people as possible get the same number that I do. And I have 22 outs to get my stuff in, and I painstakingly get a little here, get a little there, get a little there. I have my stuff placed before I send it out, and I haven't moved the line. And if I have moved the line, well, then you're not going to get it at all. I don't want to move the line. So I do it quietly and subtly, and I know how to get down what I need to get down without moving a market. And that's really, really, really hard sometimes. But there's a huge difference between that, who has the courtesy and respect of the people that follow them, to do that ahead of time, than to push send and then they are betting their large amounts on the game, and everybody that's in like this with them puts their bots into action and creates this big giant move. And how many people at the end of the list actually get the line? So it's extremely important, that you kind of know that, but how's this stuff getting bet? How's this coming up? What are the lines going to be? What's the likelihood of me getting the lines? I can tell you what my intent is when I'm sharing, and my intent is to not move a single line. For baseball all summer, I'm taking the worst of it, because there's certain shops that'll move. If I bet $100, they're going to move the line. So I literally have to take 1 or 2 cents of the worst of it a lot of the times, just so the people that are following the baseball get the better line. Because I can't afford to have, X shop move, 10 cents on my wager. So all this stuff is far more complicated than people realize if you're really trying to do right by your clients. For me, I don't need any bragging rights on my closing line value. The results speak for themselves. There are so many factors that go into this closing line value. And if I want to move a line, I can move the board myself. Trust me, I can move the NFL board. And I purposely do not want to do that. I'm not going to say that I haven't purposely done it a time or two, but it's important that whoever's following is getting the same lines. So hopefully I kind of lost track, hit the last question on it. Now I'm kind of at a loss. I want to go into in the Discord. In this, if you're just a bettor, all this stuff matters to you. Again, you don't have to buy anything, but this is the type of stuff that should be in your wheelhouse. If you're with another capper or whatever, then demand this. You should be demanding this. I honestly believe that this concept is going to be copied and imitated, and other places will have no choice but to do it. They will have to offer this. They will have to offer this availability. They're going to have to offer this respect to their client base. And I do it because I want to do it. It's a passion for me. And I don't care if you're a customer or not. But this stuff I'm going to talk about here, you don't have to be a customer. This should be part of your betting analysis in your own brain. Market awareness, I already touched on that. What's moving the lines? Why are the lines moving? When are the lines moving? Who's moving them? Et cetera, et cetera. Hold on 1 second. I can't read that. So we talk about market awareness. Is that subject ever dead? No, there's a new market every week. It's a constant reoccurring guessing game. I can tell you, even there were situations last year where people moved the market, where even people that were following me knew the silliness of the timing because they've learned and they understand. And there's people that can be very good in one aspect and may not have all the knowledge or experience that they need across the whole spectrum, so to speak. So a lot of people that have watched our videos, have been clients, DM, Twitter, whatever, they know this, they've learned this. Being comfortable with betting, learning all your options and betting with confidence instead of playing the guessing game. What are all the different methods that are available to you? Here's something that nobody's ever going to talk to you about. Good luck finding somebody that's going to help you out with the mental health aspects of betting. Does anybody ever talk about that? I think it's probably, it's potentially the #1 most important part of betting. It's not your handicapping, it's not even your finances, it's your mental health, because your mental health leads into all those sort of things. Mental health is very important. I cannot begin to tell you. Structuring habits. Habits are just absolutely imperative to maintain. When I did really well in Circa, let me tell you something. When I knew things were going well with the picks and the contests, I didn't change anything. You should have seen the stupid things I was doing every single week. I watched every single Sunday night game on Twitter, outside, just by the flow of the comments. I never watched any of the games because all these miracle idiotic things were happening, and I'm like, I'm not going to change that. So now some of that stuff is stupid, superstitious, doesn't matter. It's still habits, because the timing of when I submit picks, the timing of when I do my handicapping, the timing that I have set aside for handicapping, when can I monitor the board, when can I bet, have everything in line, so you're not, every day you're just automated on what you're going to be doing instead of deciding what you're doing. It's very important. The mental aspect, understanding, how being honest with the hardest person in life to be honest with is yourself. Is my wife mucking up things? Are the kids mucking up things? Is work pissing me off? What mental state of mind am I in? These are the things you have that it is really good to network with other people and get advice from them, and see how you can improve avoiding triggers, stuff like that. This is just like, it goes on and on. These are just like little, I may talk about something for 3 minutes. It's like a endless discussion. It never stops. This is something that is important to the betting process if it's important to you. Money management sounds boring and structured. I think what I want people to understand about me is I think I am the most like you. I'm not a math nerd that knows everything. I'm not some blowhard that's trying to build up a brand. I'm not trying to do anything except, adhere to my passion of trying to just do good work and to be helping people to kind of pay it forward a little bit, like I was fortunate enough to have. It's gonna take more than what I give, but to equate to a true mentor. But whatever I can, I want to translate to it. I want to translate that somehow. It's important to me. But I'm the most like anybody that's watching this video, pretty much, because I'm not strict. I'm going to make mistakes. I am going to try new things sometimes. I am going to do stuff that doesn't make sense, but I know that it works. There's a lot of data. We're going back to the teaser record. That's right, information. Made 38, 39% last year. I guess it was 30 plus 30.75 units. Oh, that's lifetime. I think, and I could be wrong, that close to 50% of my teasers were not wrong teasers. Let that sink in. I'm that successful with what I'm doing, and I am doing the opposite of what everybody tells you you have to do. Trust me, I break rules that other people say you can't break, okay? And I don't do it out of spite or stubbornness or anything. It's because they're wrong, okay? Their data's flawed. They're not analyzing or applying the data in a way that works in a particular given situation. When you're looking up, data there, and you're looking at just the hardcore numbers, well, that's only part of the story. It's how you apply those numbers can morph based on a lot of other inputs that just the numbers you're looking at can't tell you. So you can't just plunk, numbers into a teaser, calculator and 100% trust that that number is going to be accurate. It also depends on, there's other variables. Where's the market? Where's the market going to be? A lot of other things that people will not tell you come into play, okay? And you take it for what it's worth. I'm positive on this, okay? As Rich says, as far as getting back into parlays, I've got a toilet roll of reasons, okay? But even if they were break even, okay, if you're doing, two team teasers with par EV, at the very least, and there's much more than this, but at the very least, I haven't heard one single person mention this, is it prolongs your accounts, morons. I mean, the more teasers and parlays you put in your accounts, the more camouflage you have, the more, the longer you hold these accounts. And that's another topic that we talk about endlessly, account preservation. Here's my credit card, you'll get the games, bye. No, that's not what we do here. We talk about this stuff. How do we preserve accounts? This is what happened to me. What did I do wrong? What can I do differently? I give you wagers that'll sit there and make you look like a moron in your accounts, and that's exactly what you want. You want non-long teasers in your accounts. You want all kinds of parlays because the people on that other end, they don't have the talent to actually sit there and go through them and realize what you're doing. They just see parlays and teasers and non-long teasers and think you're a jackass, okay? And there's a hell of a lot of positive equity in that, in maintaining accounts. And if you don't think account preservation is critical, wait till the first time you lose one of your most important accounts. Then you'll realize it, and it'll be too late. I was just thinking about one other thing. Comps. What do you think if you're betting with legal or in some offshores, what's your comp ratio on parlays and teasers? It can be up to 20 times value. And you're actually, technically with how I do things, you're actually betting straight bets, but in parlay form, and you're getting 5, 10, 20 times your comp points that build up on top of it. So I can go on and on with this stuff, but when people tell you that never do parlays, don't do this, don't do that, okay, believe them. Should you be doing it on your own if you don't know how to do it? Of course not. But don't, when people say never, that's not true. What are your thoughts on for 10-point teasers at minus 130? Everything depends on the situation. They can be complete and utter garbage, and they can be a lifesaver. It depends on how you're going to use it. But I should have put 10-point teasers into play earlier last year. I put them into play only a couple times, I think, because they're not going to ever be a go-to on a regular basis, but they can be utilized properly. And again, you're not marrying the teams. You have a multi-purpose, and when you're talking about 3 teams, then now you're getting a little tricky. And that is not something I can explain here. Can you please give me the info? Okay, that's not me. How much do you have to bet to move a line? Let me tell you something. I can go to one of the books, and I'm going to do this one of these times in one of these wager conferences. There's a book that I can bet everybody knows the name. I put a $300 bet in it, and they nearly always move it. What I should be doing is I should have somebody at the counter. I should just bet against what I want to bet, have the guy at the counter there to bet 5,000 or whatever they'll take, and get myself the better line. But there is no specific number that's going to move a line. It depends on who the player is. There's a lot of variables. There's a great, the interview with Matt Metcalf on the Summer Series YouTube videos. Every bettor should watch that. It really has a lot of valuable insight on bookmaker's perspective, and it was asked from a knowledgeable bettor's perspective, the questioning. So there's a lot to learn there, but there's a variety of issues that can make a line move. And frankly, sometimes I get pissed off when they don't move the line. I kind of get a little, that's the only time ego gets in my way. I'll tell you, there's no ego in sports betting. Trust me, okay? I'm a moron. I can always learn more, okay? I'm never going to say I'm the smartest guy in the room, because I never am, okay? But my ego does come into play sometimes when I'll bet a game at a certain place and they don't move the line, and I know I bet enough that normally they would. And then sometimes they'll say, well, screw you, and hit them again. But that's ego, and that's silly and it's stupid. It doesn't matter. But it depends on who's betting it, what time they're betting it, what time of day. Betting overnight lines or betting under different shifts, entirely different. There's an order that you can place bets and get away with it, going in a certain order of where you place your bets, and you can camouflage the market a lot better. So there is no easy answer on that. There is no easy answer. A whale can come in there and bet $1 million and they won't move the line, and I can bet $300, or somebody else can bet $300 and they'll move the line. And and I'm nobody special, okay? There's a lot of people that they're in the same boat, that they either can't bet or they can move lines at will, or the shots will move off of them if they believe that the action is sincere. Somebody actually brought it up to me, is swings. Oh, I don't have that chart. Dang it. This is a good chart. I got to chase this down for you guys. Where's my telegram here? Oh, how did I miss this? Sorry. Here it is. How did I not have this? Just darn it. Can't move it. I think all right, here we go. Oh, I got to do the screen share. I'm not going to blow this one up because it has, people have to understand that streaks are going to happen for you and against you. I assume everybody can see that. I chart the streaks of winning and losing bets in a row, and I've been very fortunate. And the reason, and here's something that I didn't even realize, and this is why I tell, what's a real cancer in buying picks or following people is hopping on, hopping off, chasing big plays, all that. It just, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's just, you're rolling the dice there, and maybe you've had some good luck with it. I know other people, they get the worst of it, but what it comes down to is find somebody that you respect and follow everything and stick to it. And the reason why is, I'll have access to my my week by week chart, but 7, 8, 9, 10, as many as 10 weeks of my year, even with that winning track record, are either losing, breaking even, or making chump change. So basically half the season, if you were just pop in for that week, you have a 50% chance of breaking even or losing. And that's with that kind of a record. And as you'll notice by these streaks here, every year, the model pumps out long streaks, except 2016, which is after I tweaked the model. So every year since I tweaked the model, there have been very nice streaks. I mean, for gosh sakes, 11, 13, 11. Just recently last year, we had 3 streaks of 7 winners in a row, an 8-game winning streak, 5 4-game winning streaks. And the worst losing streak we had, which is the worst ever, I had never lost more than 4 games in a row until 2021, which I had 5 losing games in a row twice. And then last year, 8. We had an 8 consecutive game losing streak, which was an outlier. It's part of the reason why I had to pivot the way I was betting. And again, a lot of stuff applies to just everyday bettors. You should be analyzing your own bets and realize you're going to have these big swings. You've got to be able to take them in stride. And if somebody asks, how do you handle the downswings mentally? Well, yeah, that's part of the process. That's why this isn't a thank you for your credit card, we'll tell you what the plays are. No, this is 24/7 Discord. This is the weekly wager conferences where we can piss and moan together. I take it really, really hard. I mean, trust me, I hate losing other people's money far more than it affects me. And I'm not the only one. There's a lot of people like that. That's not an uncommon way to feel. I think you can kind of tell the difference between those people, though. It's extremely important to me to not have bad weeks, and it's unavoidable. There are times where the day is going so bad that I don't even see the final scores of the early games until Monday. So the early games kicked off, it's going so badly, and I'm self-aware enough that I don't want to deal with any more bad information. I just need to put it off. So this gets back into mental health, is how are you going to manage your positives and your negatives? Because the inverse is true also. You don't get too high, okay? You do never get too high. You never get cocky, you never get overconfident. You take it in stride. I mean, you get happy, but you don't ever react to anything that's good. And I definitely probably react a little harshly when things get bad because I just take it so hard. It's really important to me. So I just need to know how I can best mentally, for me, handle the situation, which may be different for other people. One of the suggestions that I have is when stuff goes bad, do something nice for yourself. Go out for a really nice dinner. Uh, do something with the family or friends, completely unrelated, and shift your mental brainwaves. It's important to be aware of when you're aggravated and what affects you, what triggers you, what pleases you, and how you can change all those thought patterns. And call it stupid all you want, but when I'm able to manage all that stuff very well, I get my best contest results because it just clicks, and I also get better betting results. Because what's meant by this gentleman's question is, what do you do about it? Well, you move on, suck it up, buttercup. You got to move on. You can only sulk so much. So you have to learn how to process it. And there are lots of different ways that can be destructive and can compound problems. And then there's ways that can be very helpful. And the way that you learn this type of stuff is better suited for people going through it with you, or have gone through it with you. I've been through it all, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't get any easier. The first bad week of this NFL, and there'll be one, I'll be very depressed and upset. And I think I know how to make myself recover faster, but it's just the disappointment of disappointing other people, more so for me. So I feel like I have an extra weight. But that's okay. I put myself in that position. I get extra pleasure when things are going well. So somebody asked, how often can you reach out directly? What is considered too much? There's never too much. If I don't have time, I can't respond. So I have to prioritize based on the importance of the issue and such. But I've never been in a situation of being heavily backlogged. I'll do my best. I mean, it can only, it can't hurt to try. Somebody asks, if I bet $500 on lines at times, is it really me moving that line? Yeah, very well could be. Depends on the shop. Sure. And then it also matters what your profile is. A lot of people don't realize that, as part of account preservation, which we would discuss, more thoroughly, there are tricks that you use when you start new accounts, because every account gets profiled. And once you're profiled, it's hard to get out of that profile. So, when you're starting new accounts, you want to bet into new accounts in certain ways. And if you don't, you aren't going to last long, baby. You're going to be out on your can. And that's just the harsh realities. But yeah, $500 can certainly move a line at shops, in a lot of shops. But it depends, again, on the time of day. It depends on what your normal betting pattern is. If you're a $100 bettor, all of a sudden come in at 500, and it depends on how big the market is. So, I want to remind people what I said at the beginning. I'm absolutely probably going to say something that's wrong or not quite accurate or whatever. Oh, well, troll me all you want. I have the best of intentions and I make mistakes. I don't think I've made any mistakes today, but I just want people to understand I'm not perfect, I'm trying, I do the best I can, Um, somebody is asking, he lives in Virginia. He doesn't have Circa and Pinnacle. Am I going to be at a disservice? I have 18 books though. Quantity is very important, but also quality is very important because optimally, you want a mix of sharp and square. So, potentially, uh, you have a minimum dress code that you're willing to leave the house with. Okay, you're not going to go out naked, and you're not going to go out bundled up for the snow when it's 110. So the minimum requirement, as far as I'm concerned, with having books is a bookmaker, bet online, and possibly Heritage. But those are a couple that, if you're going to go offshore, that you're basically expected to have. As far as in the country, MGM, Caesars, FanDuel, DraftKings, that should be your bare minimum, what you're working with, and you could cut off 2 of those U.S. shops, but as long as you have at least 4, and you got 2 squares, 2 sharps, that's going to help you out. But you don't want all squares, you don't want all sharps, so mix it up. No, the games, I can bet the opposite of what I'm betting in a contest very easily. They are 2 different strategies, 2 different goals, and I have oftentimes bet against what I've bet. And does that bother me? Yeah, it took a while to get used to, but I don't know how to explain it. That's more of a contest, more in-depth conversation. Anyway, let's see what someone just that's we did it. Oh, we hit a lot of stuff that was on here. There's still a lot more stuff that that you need to be aware of, but this toilet roll of issues is just all never ending and constantly evolving and changes and 3 or 4 of these are just absolutely critical. And if you can get a life preserver of help, you don't understand the value of that. The value, if somebody's following me, and again, I don't care if anybody does, but you should, but I don't care. The value is not whether I win or lose. The value is going to be the access, that somebody gives a shit, the fact that you can at any point in a smaller environment have direct communication that it directly applies to you. And if you're not getting, and sometimes that information is helped by people in similar positions and not even me. I mean, there's times when people have posed questions in the Discord and I don't know the answer, and a follower knows the answer, which is awesome. Buying points. It's a whole nother issue. So, that's another parlay teaser type, thing where you hear never buy points and this, that, and the other. And again, that one's not quite as harsh as the parlay negative EV, but you should basically not be buying points. But as people know from last year, I patted myself on the back for a couple of times where I called it ahead of time. This is why we're doing it. This is the situation, and it made the difference. The 2 Jacksonville games I can think of, or the Jets Green Bay game, landed on 10, and we didn't have that 10. We won on that game. And then the Jacksonville game, the line was 9.5, I think. We won on that, plus the so there are certain situations that make buying points. That was Jacksonville, Kansas City, I think. There are certain situations that make buying points possible, and there's certain situations where goofball teasers work because they're starting to charge different prices based on what numbers you're buying through. I've got at least 3 books that charge you different teaser prices depending on what numbers you're using. I could be wrong, but who the hell else is mentioning that out there? I listen to show after show after show, and I'm not sure I've heard anybody discuss it. And it's been around for a while and just kind of ignored. But that's kind of what the future is for teasers. Is they don't have any choice. They're not gonna let you go through certain numbers, or they're gonna charge you accordingly. And the thing to remember about how much things have changed with teasers is back in the day, it was 6 points and no juice. And here's the other thing. Here's what you have to check with your books. The only fair way for a book to grade teasers is that if you tie, the bet is dead. If you have a tie, it's dead. Whether you win or lose that other game. Doesn't matter the order of the win or the tie. You can have a loss, and then the second game ties, and the whole thing pushes. And a lot of people sit there and go, well, that doesn't make any sense because parlays go down to the next number. Well, yeah, but you can't do that in a teaser. So part of that original valuation of teasers, when they used to be 6 points, even money, and the fact that the 6 points weren't going to transfer to that one remaining team, was all factored into that. So now we move 10 years ahead, and these sneaky bastards are charging 110, 120. Some places are as high as 145. And now they're starting to take away the tie loss, and they're making a tie loss a loss. Wait a minute, they're just literally taking everything. It's absolutely ridiculous because it has to be a loss. It has to be a push if there's a loss or a tie, because there is no alternative. There's no way to take it down to one game. That's why it's just immediately a dead a dead bet. Which books are sharps and not the sharps? Well, I mentioned the bookmaker and bookmaker and Bet Online are going to be your best. Pinnacle, which is not, if you're outside the U.S., you certainly want a Pinnacle account. I keep forgetting that we have international people. Pinnacle's a must-have. They're in Canada, they're in other parts of the world. And I'm not going to make any promises or anything, but I feel extremely secure that these places are making so much money. I cannot fathom how they can go and go under. Pinnacle's, working on, they're already legal in Canada. They're growing. Bookmaker through Cris is trying to legalize. I know for a fact, I have the numbers. I know somebody that owns one of the larger books, not named here, but pretty close to that level. And believe it or not, in their high volume sports, believe it or not, they're making 92% of their revenue from casino games. So you would think that this place is not, nothing but sports, but they're making 92% of their money from casino play. Think about that. So you think they're going to go belly up on some sports bets? It's highly unlikely with these big places, because they're getting revenue from so many different different places. And Pinnacle used to be the sharpest book. They've kind of changed a little bit, and different shops are sharper for different things, and that's part of the market reading education is being able to read which shops you can trust for which sports. Which shop is a UFC sport, which shop is a NFL shop, which knows their baseball. Those are the type of things that you monitor when you're evaluating markets. Boy, how long have we gone here? Too long. I wanted to answer the question, if I haven't already, if you're any good at what you do and you're a pro bettor, then why do you have to sell picks? This is like the most low brown, laziest, like brain dead comment that I could ever think of. I, I have a list this long of the reasons why. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, how dumb can you possibly be to ask such a question like that? It's absolutely ridiculous. But just to name off, a handful. When I separated my partnership with, I'll tell you how it evolved for me personally. When my partner Frank went to do his thing and we separated, that was right before COVID, I think. I'd always had a partner, and I had to determine what I wanted to do. And I was not going to continue. And I paused. I didn't do anything. I'm like, I'm not going to continue if I cannot 100% be honest with the person that's the hardest person to be honest with, me. I have to be able to honestly, deep down inside, not kidding, no bailouts, no stipulations, know that I'm going to put 100% effort in going forward, or I'm not going to do it. So I found we'd already been, making picks or bets available over at Wager Talk. And that's one thing too, is I'm not a pick seller. I make what I bet available to follow. So there's a huge distinction because there's a huge contingent of people that provide picks. They don't even bet. I'll guarantee you, I bet. And that's how I do it. Whatever I bet, you get within reason. If I'm betting a bunch of miscellaneous crap that there's no way to translate it, oh well. But I do my damnedest. But I found that when because I was a careless bettor, I was I knew my stuff, but I was careless. I wasn't organized enough. I wasn't disciplined enough. I made excuses. I was impulsive. But when I had other people relying on me, well, wait a minute, this is serious. It's time. That's a lot of responsibility. So not only did that focus me, made me work twice as hard, and it really helped discipline my wagers, because just because I would share a pick at this amount, I would no longer just bet whatever over here. Whatever I'm sharing, I'm doing the exact same thing. It's helping structure me in what I consider a weakness. Everybody has weaknesses. I'm open about my weaknesses. And that was one of my huge weaknesses, was organization and discipline and impulsiveness. And that's my biggest benefit of selling picks, or making what I do available to follow. It helps my focus, and it just improves my process. I don't know a single business. I don't know a single person. All those Einstein trolls out there, just name them. I mean, I'm sure you'll find one or two, I don't know. But who the hell doesn't augment income by passive income? Are you out of your mind in this economy? You make money where you can make money. And the beautiful thing about it is that where I'm in what I consider a shitty industry, where there's a lot of deceptiveness and fraud, I believe by actually betting and having an emotional interest, providing write-ups, making myself available, and being as communicative as possible, I've never blocked a single person. Think about that. I've been on for 11 years on Twitter. You know how many trolls come up in my timeline? You know the crap I have to put up with from these irrational people? It's unbelievable. I have never blocked one of them, not a single person. I often engage them. So, quick side note. This is psychology 101, and this is the funny thing about trolls, is a lot of them are pretty sharp people. A lot of them are pretty good. I respect some of the trolls because they are smart oftentimes. But psychology 101, as smart as some of these guys are, they don't understand what is so easy, that's so obvious to everybody else. They literally are so self-absorbed in their own grief and their own unhappiness that they don't understand how transparent they are. Because it's really simple. Happy people do not go out and try to make other people unhappy. It's that simple. If you're happy, well, think about any time in your life that you've been happy, that you have intentionally gone out to try to make somebody else miserable. You don't do it. And that's what they don't understand about how they create their own transparency. And that's what's so ridiculous about Twitter in its entirety, is these people just keep on going on and on. And it's like, I politely say, hey, I hope you work out things with your wife. I hope you repair your relationship with your kid. I hope you lose some weight. I hope you find a girlfriend. I don't know what's making you unhappy, but I'm just plugging along. I have best wishes for you. And that's all I can do. But again, nobody in their right mind would put up with the shit that we have to put up with from trolls and the people that scorn us and the people that look down on us. And that's one aspect of this. You know, a lot of people think, oh, you're just making all this money and packing it away and you don't give a shit, and you know, you're living in Fat City. You don't want, this grief isn't worth it. You know how many X's you have to cross and T's you have to, or I's you have to dot, T's you have to cross, how anal you have to be to make sure that everything that you're doing is uniform and proper, and you're out of time and this, that, and the other. It's such hard work. It is so hard. And I have people that I've hired to work with me, and they said, there's no fucking way I would do what you're doing. Are you out of your mind? I have no clue what these people do to you, what you have to go through, all the stuff you never see behind the scenes. And you know what? The people in the wager conferences are going to see it, because the wager conference like this is going to be work product. I can't take time off during the NFL season to just chit chat about this and that. It has to be productive on all these issues that I just spoke about, and it's also going to be work product. So if I might be on camera here, and I may not be able to say anything for 10 minutes or 5 minutes, and I've got to pump in some bets. I've got to look at the screen closely. I've got to act on some info. Somebody needs to, you know, do this. You know, you're going to get a little bit of insight at times of what I'm actually doing and participating potentially. And, you know, will it be in a full way? Of course not. But, you know, whatever little bit that you can absorb, that might help somebody out. But I'm not going to, all these things. I don't even want to read all this stuff. It's just, when I said that I'm kind of more like whoever I consider is watching this than the average person, I really mean it. It's there's just too many people that want to lecture and tell you that you have to do this or you're a moron. You know, they use terms that you don't really want to do. People want to, I think that 95% of people at a minimum, they work hard, they want to get away from the family for a bit, they want to escape, they want to be with friends. They don't want to go through the work of following everything that they should, you know, to the line item. Okay, who wants to do that? I don't want to do that. Okay, I can't relate to people that have to do everything exactly in uniformity every single time. And I have personal examples of how people like that sometimes are unable to see what I call a utility value of a parlay, a utility value of a teaser, because it's not a number. It's not a number they can put in their chart, because the utility value is how you're doing it and what you're doing in your own brain with it that, you know, goes into other things that you're doing. So I don't know whether that came across as I meant it to be, but again, I'm not out to lecture anybody on how to spend their money, how to bet, or whatever. I'll tell you what I'm doing. I can advise you on what I can suggest. There's always things that have to go on the fly. Every single day I have somebody that says, I can't find this. You have a suggestion, or where's, I can look at a line server and say, oh yeah, you can get it over here too. Stuff like that. It should be a team environment. Everybody should be happy, even on a bad week. I mean, you know what? I can't tell you how grateful I am, when I think one of the first bad weeks I had, like really bad weeks, and I was expecting to get pounded, and everybody was just so nice. And boy, that just inspired me to appreciate people more and work even harder. And instead, I don't understand. I mentioned this last night, last night I sold an individual play on the baseball total yesterday, and somebody chimed in. Basically a negative comment, because the game, we had the under, and it was going over in the first inning, and the guy's pissed off and he's unhappy, and he's not the only one. That happens to me all the time. I get people that have, beginning of the third period, my team's losing by 1, out shooting the other team 2-1. Took all these ridiculous penalties against them, and I'm getting MF'd on Twitter for being a loser, and what a shitty pick. I mean, this is the type of stuff I have to put up with. But this guy last night, he had a legitimate frustration of, he spends money on one pick, which I previously explained. I don't like that idea. I don't like that idea at all. Find somebody and stick with them. Don't chase one pick. Don't chase the bullshit short-term streak marketing. My God, I have preached this in so many videos and in so many write-ups. And you know how many people listen? Close your eyes. What do you see? Nothing. Nobody listens. There is such a huge segment of people out there that just want to have fun, that just want to be impulsive, and that's fine. But I want you to understand, then don't, you're going to expect the results that you're going to get. I mean, for gosh sakes, going into that game, I think we were like 11-2, and we were up over 67% since June 1st. 67%. Since June 1st? I get a customer, he buys one game, thinks I'm a POS, and he's really frustrated. And he he puts it out on Twitter, and what do? I don't get pissed. I don't block him. I pull him into the DM and I go, yeah, I understand your frustration. I'd be frustrated too. But watch this video and learn. And I told him I was going to address this issue yesterday. Don't chase one game. Don't chase short-term streaks. Anything can happen. For gosh sakes, the very best. I don't know anybody that has done as well as I have in NFL, okay? I'm going to lose 43% of the games. And if anybody claims that they're good enough to figure out what game that they can pick out of that 57% to bet more, good luck. These are marketing schemes. This is revenue raising. I mean, think about it. Remember, anytime you buy one pick or one weekend, you're going, the very best are losing 43% of the time. You have a 43%. Even with, and for most people, you're lucky if they're going to win. You're going to have a 45, 46, 47% chance of it losing. I mean, for gosh sakes, you're flipping a coin more or less. So, and I agree. If one game tilts you that much, you're likely over betting, or you're not betting properly. I hate to say, if you're going to be betting, you have to be within your comfort zone where the money matters, but it doesn't matter. When you're talking about a bankroll, it's lost. I mean, it's like when I gave the contest advice last week. If you're entering a contest, that money's gone. It's gone. It is gone. If you play that contest thinking, well, I've got $1,000, no, you don't. No, you don't. It's gone. Trust me. If you're lucky enough to get very close to the end, then you can start to think about the money a little bit, just from a tactical viewpoint. If you don't know anything about how to do that, I've had at least 24 people reach out to me for end of contest advice. And that's when you worry about it. But the money's gone. And if you think about the money and then how you want to get it back and just make the money, my gosh, have you wasted your time? That's just contest play 101. It's fun money. It's like you're going to the movies. What did you get? You're going to get a memory. You're going to have a memory, and hopefully you win, but you probably won't. I think I babbled long enough. What I wanted to get across was I believe that that my NFL, when if I don't know what people would, if I offered my NFL and took your credit card number and never spoke to you again, I feel that it's the best NFL you could have. Prove me wrong. Show me differently. Show me somebody else that's won 4 years in a row. Just 4. So that aside, though, everything else, my attention and my caring and my concern for people, the 24-hour VIP Discord. I also have a free Discord that's pretty, I'll post that if you want to look. Anybody can get in the free Discord. It's really not that active right now. I'm not looking to grow some super Discord, okay? There's a handful of super duper Discords that do a great job, nothing against them. I want the free Discord and to be like a nice, friendly place with positiveness and banter and learning and just everything, just a community. I don't care how many people are in it. I don't care how many clients I have for football. I just want to make it feel like somebody is involved in a situation where somebody actually gives a shit about them and actually tries as hard as they can. I don't need to do this, okay? I can retire. The only reason I'm doing this is because this is a passion project for me. And as I said at the beginning, I honestly believe you are going to see copycats. They're going to have no choice but to have to copy this concept in some way, shape, or form. Because I believe that the days of just buying somebody, thank you for your credit card, I'll send you the plays, that's got to go by the wayside. Because these people, the vocal people out there that slam the industry, they're pretty much right. But when there's a huge difference between that and what I'm trying to do, and I'm trying to help revolutionize and change what everybody should demand from anybody that you're giving money to. When you invest money with a financial advisor, do you not discuss it? Do you not have a running flow and an understanding of why you're investing in stuff and what the strategies are? And doesn't he teach you a little bit along the way? If you go to a doctor, does he just sit there and say, I'm going to do this, and there's no exchange of like, well, why are you doing it, and this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 and direct interaction? When you're having advisors and consultations with people, you should demand more. You should expect more. You should know that the people recognize you and care about you and aren't full of shit and are willing to put in the time and the energy to try to elevate you. And what is the very most valuable part is not the picks. It doesn't matter whether I win or lose this season. It's going to be a disaster in my head. I don't want to lose. But what the most valuable part of this is what you take with you for the next 20 years, 30 years. There's going to be stuff in here that will change you, not only in your betting life, but in your personal life, how you process and how you think differently. And I think differently. And a lot of people that I know that are in the circle think differently. And, when you see people they say, oh, well, you know, if you're going to have a model, it has to conform this way. And if it doesn't, it's a shitty model because, you know, if it's too far off, it can't be any good. Okay, well, when do you win? Well, I win every other year. Okay, thank you. Good of it, you know, all right, that's all right. You know, I want something that's different. My model is different. My model comes up with numbers that nobody else comes up with. It's not, you know, manually adjusting. Oh, I watched the game and somebody else told me this about the stats and somebody else told me about this injury. I'm going to move this team 1/2 point. Really? That's the good luck. Good luck in the hardest, most efficient market on the planet. You're going to sit there and use that method. Anyway, I think we're out of questions here. Oh boy. Future bets, win total stuff. You know what I'm going to do? I don't recommend normal people do futures because if they're going to bet their own stuff, because your subconscious will never allow you to properly evaluate anything that goes against what your needs are from your futures. I'm excellent at compartmentalizing, excellent, and I struggle with it. I'm at a absolute superior level being able to compartmentalize that, and I have trouble being able to do something like that. For the average person, there's no hope. You know, Cleveland and Cincinnati's playing. Who do you like? Well, I got that Cleveland over, so I can't bet against them. Okay, well, maybe I'll play another game. Come on. You know that happens. Anybody that's placed a future knows that that's gone through their mind. And even if it doesn't overtly go through the mind, it subconsciously makes you you know, skip a game or something like that. Let me see if I see anything else. Oh, variance. We didn't talk about variance that much. Somebody wanted to know if it's going to be another wacky. Last year was really wacky. I don't think it's going to be that wacky again this year. What week do I stop using prior data? I don't use any prior data. That's something else. A lot of people, now I don't have a problem with people using prior data in their models. I think there's a place for it, but I personally don't use it. And I do pretty well. So I don't, so I never use prior data. What volume do I expect? I don't know. I think, I don't even remember how many games we bet last year. It's a fair amount. It could be, you know, it could be a lot of bets. I mean, there's some intense, you know, it depends on the given week and what the situations are, because I can get pretty creative. I can get a little intense. So it's not for everybody. If you have real concerns on the volume, let me know. There will not be champagne in the VIP room till the end of the year, hopefully. The Discord is not available. The free Discord is available, but the VIP Discord will, I got to get to that as soon as I can. By the end of the week, I should have that for full-time clients. When do I release plays? You know, this is actually a really good topic because I had this problem, and this is the value of a community. This is the value of having give me your credit card number, thank you, relationships. Because last year I polled the clients and I said, here's the situation. What am I supposed to do if there are people that are not prepared properly with the proper accounts? If I've told people what accounts that they need and they don't have them, well, then that's their choice. But I cannot penalize bettors or anybody that's following. I cannot penalize those people for the sake of unprepared other people. So that was the conclusion. There was no dissension on it. I was actually kind of surprised. It was like literally, uh, if you miss a play, you miss a play. I mean, you're not going to get every single play. It's just, I miss plays. It's frustrating, but there's going to be situations. The last thing I want to be doing, I am fried. The last thing I want to be doing is working Sunday night, first thing Monday morning. But there has been a change in the market with the competitive nature of all the legal books. Unfortunately, it's a reality, and it's a reality that I didn't want to face, and it's a reality that all of you should realize that it's getting to the point where you gotta. I mean, people are betting a week ahead of time. Now, I'm not on that level. I don't really care for that because a lot of things can go wrong, and what look ahead betting I've done hasn't paid off. It's a washout. But I can't argue with the fact that unfortunately there's just the market moves harder and faster than it used to in the past. It's an evolving market. It's exactly what I was referencing early, where you need to adapt, and you may not like it, but it's the reality that we got to bet earlier in the week oftentimes. And I hate that. I want nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with propping up stats. The records that I have are very few games that are like early release. I mean, super early release games. I mean, really, it's not even. It can't even be. It's got to be less than 5%, if that high. But it's going to grow, and it's going to grow substantially this year. I have a feeling so. And I don't like it. I don't want to do it, but it's going to happen because that's where the market is shifted to. Uh, you have to, you're going to have to act earlier because the market's not going to wait for you. And that's just my best guess. So, and I believe if you don't have the shops that are going to have a lineup Monday morning or Sunday night, well, I don't want to bet that early. But there may be cases that, sorry, I have to. I can't sit there and not share the information. It'd be the same case of if I'm driving in my car and a piece of information came, I'm in the exact same boat that those people that missed the Monday morning release are. If I'm driving in my car and a piece of information came across, or I'm in a movie or whatever, I missed it. Can't be there for every play. I'm going to miss them on my, I'm going to miss plays that I want. People that follow are going to miss plays. There's nothing you can do about it. Just you do the best you can. But that's about it. Moderator, you got anything else? Is our moderator? Anyway, we're out of questions that I'm going to, if you guys have any other issues, you can hit comments, hit me on DM. You can hit me on, I'll tweet out my regular Discord link. You could ask questions in there. Again, it's not that active right now, but I think it'll pick up as the more sports go on. I think they're running, I forgot, they're running a promotion. Our baseball is really hot. It's up well over 60% over the last 7 weeks after a rough May. So it's been really, really good. And the golf has been really good. That's up 32% this year. Get it free, for the next 10 days, I guess. If you buy a subscription, I think that they're doing. So you get all the baseball, all the golf, and hopefully in a perfect world, it just pays for the service. But that's all I got to say. Anybody that buys the NFL, get up to the second week of the preseason for free. And I actually have a 79% win rate in preseason lifetime, and I don't put out very many. But if I'm going to try to find some this year, but I didn't even realize I did that well in preseason. I'm usually just I don't want to work preseason. I want to focus where I want to focus, and that gets into mental awareness and habit routines where you don't disrupt your life to do something that you think you're supposed to do if you don't want to do it, if that makes any sense. But anyway, thank you everybody for joining. I'm going to sign off. I appreciate your time. I hope that there was some good tidbits for everybody.